Hello YouTube, my name is Fag. Welcome to my channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And here we go. The 20,000 watt microwave oven. Last time we saw his most powerful handheld laser of 2025. Now I guess we're going to see the most powerful microwave. That was so cheesy. Well, let's see what happens, shall we?
This video is sponsored by Opera. So hear me out. A typical microwave oven is about 1,000 watts. Well, I'm wondering what kind of fun could be had with an oven that's 20 times stronger. Now I'm sure many of you have wondered this as well. But if not,
I gotta say I have not wondered that at all.
there are a few things that a 20,000 watt microwave would accomplish. Now the obvious one is cooking food faster. I mean, in this day and age, I shouldn't have to wait minutes to cook a Hot Pocket. Oh no, this should take seconds. Microwave experiments should be 20 times more exciting as well. I mean, even an oven like this is capable of some cool tricks. So I'm hoping that throwing obscene powers at these classic demos will give some fun surprises. And this brings up my last...
What the heck was that? Did that really happen? We put something on fire inside a microwave? That was weird. I thought, what? That microwave sounds dangerous. Whoever wants something that dangerous.
Last point. The plasmas that could be made would be hellish. Like seriously, if you thought plasmas in a normal oven were cool, imagine the kind of witchcraft that you could pull off at extreme power. Is there anything that it wouldn't melt? There's only one way to find out. Let's build a 20,000 watt microwave. So, how do you get...
I can't figure if this guy's insane or a genius. Maybe he's the evil genius level. What do you guys think about that? When you microwave a candle, it starts to melt the wax, turn it into gas, and, well, yes, I know how a candle works. He's both pal. That wouldn't make sense, wouldn't it?
20,000 watts out of a microwave oven? Well, you only need to upgrade 2 components. Let me open one of these up and show you what I mean. Now I gotta say it, the power supply in a microwave oven is lethal. In fact, when science hobbyists get killed by their projects, more often than not, it's because they were screwing around with microwave parts like these. Anyway, this right here is what generates the microwave radiation in an oven. It's called a magnetron. Now interestingly, this is actually a vacuum tube.
Now, I seen somebody mess with a microwave before, and somehow it went from being a microwave to a freezer. I don't know if that was an accurate depiction of what they were doing, but... Oh, are you not entertained? I am. Hey, buddy, how's it going? We're watching the microwave.
Which means unlike phones, TVs, and radios, the main technology in microwaves is the same as it was 70 years ago. Pretty cool, right? So can you just dump more power into this magnetron and get more power out? Well, you can, but only to a point. I've actually tried.
I try about my model glitching out, guys. Every time I take a drink, it seems to glitch out like that, so I apologize for that. But it was so hot today.
Tried this, but I only got to a few thousand watts before it blew up, so this method won't get me to 20 kilowatts. I simply need a bigger magnetron. Now, unfortunately,
he was a magnetron in a regular microwave. That's crazy. Your build was 20 times stronger? Yeah.
Unfortunately, even though oven magnetrons are a dime a dozen, big ones are...
Hi, Renee. How's it going? Welcome in. Walking building the same microwave. There's a styropyro. Hope you enjoy it.
are really hard to come by. In fact, I've been waiting for years to make a video like this, but I simply couldn't find a big magnetron. However, my luck finally changed. Enter the Megatron. This water-cooled beast is rated for 16,000 watts of drive power, and I plan on pushing it to 20. It's actually kind of funny that I'm even allowed to own.
Well, he got close to his 20,000 watt mark. was 16. Hope that didn't burn out too quick. Maybe to see what it does with
Own
it.
this. Now there's a bit of lore to how I obtained this beast. It was an eBay purchase, but it was not me that found the listing. It was the notorious Discord entity Charizard Rect that tipped me off to some monster magnetrons being sold as heat exchangers. I bought a few, and although one came DOA, two were still functional. I was salty about the dead unit, but then a scorpion jumped out of the package, which I thought was a pretty cool consolation prize. Since I don't know anything about scorpions, I asked Arya to identify it and tell me what it eats, as well as help convince me to keep it as a pet. Arya is the built-in AI that's unique to Opera, which is actually the browser cool enough to sponsor this video. Opera is a fast and redesigned browser that's packed with features to maximize productivity. Now, one thing I really like about Opera is the concept of tab islands. If you're the type of nerd to watch a video like this, there's a good chance you're like me and let your browser tabs get a bit chaotic. Now, don't let the haters fool you. You'll definitely come back to those tabs at some point. With tab islands, you don't need to close out of tabs to declutter. You can simply group them together by context, which makes them much easier to find later. You can even mark tabs by an emoji, which I found to be a great way to quickly find a tab. As I've already mentioned, Opera stands out with its integrated browser AI Arya. I can bring it up in an instant with a command line, and then have it tell me how to power a magnetron or generate images of my scorpion as my lab assistant. However, my favorite feature of Arya is that it can summarize a page, which is very time-saving. Opera has lots of other features I like as well. For example, I can highlight text and have it explained, and the same feature can translate text as well. There's also an ad blocker that you can turn on and off wherever you want, as well as an integrated free VPN. So yeah, if you're looking
Oh, that's neat. Free VPN with Opera. He's not good with ad reads. I do like his ad reads, though. He does good with
for a
those.
smoother, more productive AI-powered browser, you should definitely give Opera a spin and click the link in the description. Thank you to Opera for sponsoring this video. Anyway, what do I do with this now? So can I just jam this thing in there and call it a day? Well, there's one problem with that. It don't fit. I could have just built a bigger waveguide, but I thought back to some of the oldest microwaves that I took apart over the years. And I remembered that some of the oldest ones had big waveguides inside of them. So I picked up this old radar range microwave from the 70s, and I just love how it looks. But to be honest, it's also just built like a tank. Like, they don't make microwaves like they used to. Gosh, this...
They don't make anything like they used to. But back in the day, things were built to last and you could repair them easily. Anymore, it used to be the saying was reduce, reuse, recycle, repair. Right? Now if you like it's reduce, reuse, recycle, replace. Basically go back to be able to repair stuff, make things last longer, keep stuff out of landfills. But that's just my own personal view on that.
This thing weighs like 80 or 90 pounds, I think, so it's a real beast. The huge magnetron fits perfectly inside the oven, but it brings up another issue. How am I going to power it? I need 20 times more power than this thing can provide. So perhaps I can take apart 20 microwaves, chain together the transformers, and power it that way? Nope, that sounds horrible. I have a better solution in mind. I bought this cute distribution transformer that'll be perfect for the job. Now it is technically a bit undersized for the load, but for short runs, it'll be fine. Alright, it's all wired up now. Let's fire this.
That scared me. For some reason, that big old transformer scared me.
Beast up. Now before I stick anything crazy in there, I just want to try boiling some water to make sure it actually works. Now I will admit that running this thing isn't quite as straightforward as running a household oven, so let me show you the startup sequence. Now, you do have to close the door because there's no safety interlock to prevent you from cooking the room if you leave it open. So I'm going to start by firing up this water pump here. So next, I'm going to go here and fire up the magnetron filament. Next, I'm going to hit this switch here, which energizes that boosting auto transformer, which then feeds my Variac. And now, I'm going to take my Variac and crank it all the way to 100. And this switch right here is what finally powers it up. So, let's boil some water. A typical microwave oven takes nearly 2 minutes to bring a cup of water to its boiling point. This one goes beyond that in seconds.
Wow.
Yes, water actually explodes because it superheats faster than it can boil. If
That is crazy, isn't it? It made water explode. Wow. Hmm. Not to mention that setup. Guys, really, really do not try this stuff at home. This guy is professional. He's a mad scientist. Please be safe. That much power can kill you quickly. Or unalive you quickly, sorry.
water explodes in there, imagine what'll happen to things you aren't supposed to microwave. I'm sure you're dying to see how fast food will cook in that thing. But the fact that it makes water explode means I gotta try some of the classic microwave experiments first. So, let's see what it does to a light bulb. What could possibly go wrong? All right. Here we go.
Wow. It made that bulb go boom. Oh, they tried lighting up for a few minutes. See that? Or a few seconds. Yeah.
Wow. It's just instantaneous. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's hilarious. Look at that. It just turned it into dust. Oh, that is so funny.
Wow, glass dust. I've never seen a light bulb explode like that before. Man. That's crazy, ain't it?
Jeez. By comparison, when I tried this in a normal oven, it took nearly 10 seconds to melt through, and it didn't even come close to exploding. Is it a good idea to microwave an egg?
He's just young blood buck eye to step aside the microwave now, ain't he? Go for a ride if you got an egg.
Let's find out. All right, here we go.
Oh, pop.
Oh my goodness. I tried an egg in a normal oven as well, and it took over 30 seconds to pop and wasn't nearly as violent. I'm curious what'll happen to a plasma globe inside this thing.
Oh.
All right. How do I even do this kind of stuff?
Oh, crap, it turned into a fireball. He quite literally cast fireball. Now he's a techno wizard.
That was so loud. Oh my gosh. Wow. That was crazy. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. It's just like powder. Oh, you gotta see this. That was reduced into dust. Into just dust. There's like those pieces are so tiny. That's crazy. That actually exploded so violently that bits of glass shot holes in the mica waveguide cover. Yikes. Now speaking of plasma, the metallic coating on this chip bag should be pretty interesting. Let's activate the shrink ray.
Oh, wow. That was neat.
Instantly. A lit candle can be crazy
Come
in a
on, where
normal
you
oven,
at?
so I figured it'd be worth trying in this thing as well.
Yeah.
A funny side effect.
Ear bang. My ears got flashbang. Why is my... There it goes, finally. How am I got stuck? I just refilled my water with a jug of ice water. Maybe I need to invest in water cooling for my computer. Who knows? That was crazy, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. And loud.
Effect of all that plasma is that it turns the air in there into deadly nitrogen dioxide gas, which gives it that brown color. Now, if you're wondering how I'm filming inside the oven, I just have a hole drilled in the cavity there, and then over here, I just have a cell phone that's just taped to the walls there. Now, this works because the hole is pretty small relative to the microwave wavelength, so it doesn't let much radiation out. Now, I'm not the first YouTuber to use this technique. I think Cody's Lab was the first to do it on YouTube. But then Nile Red has a good video on microwave plasmas that uses this. And then Steve Mold actually has a whole video about, filming inside a microwave. Anyway, I think it's time we cook some actual food in this thing.
I like how you just credit where credit's due, you know? Not a lot of streamers do that, right? They try to say, hey, I came up with this idea or that idea. He actually gives credit where credit is due. I like that about him.
And it's funny because after years of doing everything with a microwave that you're not supposed to, I'm finally going to come full circle and use a microwave oven to simply heat some food. Let's start with a Hot Pocket. The instructions say it needs to cook for nearly 3 minutes in a puny home oven. I'm hoping this macrowave will cook it faster. Well, it didn't explode, but I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's done.
Alright, let's take a look. Oh yeah, looks done. Oh yeah, it feels done too. Well, there's your 10-second Hot Pocket. Now the most surprising part about this,
It took 10 seconds to fluid cook a frozen Hot Pocket. How neat is that? Too bad you can't really get something like that.
is that it cooked evenly, because I know this oven has some hot spots. I wonder how quickly a hot dog will cook in this thing.
There we go.
I was kind of hoping it would explode, but at least it was cooked in seconds. I actually left it in there way too long, judging by what it looks like afterwards.
Yeah, it did.
I chucked a
It burns wiener. Poor guy.
potato in there without stabbing any holes in it, also with the hope that it would explode. But unfortunately, it simply flash cooked like it was supposed to. It did make some funny whistling sounds, though. In fact, a lot of foods make that funny whistle, and pickles turned out to be one of the best noisemakers.
Oh, wow, that was neat, wasn't it? Sounds almost like a tea kettle going off.
Let's test another microwave food
popcorn.
classic. Popcorn.
We got popcorn.
This one was actually kind of disappointing because it took 30 seconds to pop fully. Now this is several times faster than a normal oven, but I was hoping it'd be instantaneous. At least it didn't burn though. Now it's time for everybody's favorite food to microwave, the grape. And you know what? Let me go ahead and cut it almost in half, just to make sure, it heats nice and evenly, Like this. And yeet. Unfortunately,
Did he say yeet before he turned that on? That was crazy.
the fragrant smell of roasted grape is hidden by the suffocating nitrogen dioxide fumes, which is the deadly brown gas left in the beaker there. Instead of cutting a grape in half, I just tossed in some
Wait, cooking grapes in a microwave releases deadly gas? I never knew that. Microwave will take 2 seconds. And the faculty prefer it. Right.
unmodified grapes to see if I get the same result. Yep, grapes are haunted. These grape plasmas are incredibly bright, but of particular interest is their color. They glow white and even have bits of blue coming through. I'm wondering if they're being heated beyond white hot to blue hot. The big brain way to answer this question would be to take a UV visible spectrum, fit it to the Planck radiation law, and determine the temperature that way. But you know what? That doesn't sound nearly as fun as chucking a bunch of metal in there and seeing what
You got the melon now. Oh, Lordy. You want to melon out of the microwave. Microwave them with the whole ass. So terror versus rain. I imagine.
kind of hell is unleashed. So yeah, let's do that. Let's see if the microwave can melt magnesium ribbon, or at least see what kind of plasma it'll make.
Oh, look at that.
Not only did it melt and burn in there, but it also managed to show off some of its green spectral colors, which is in contrast to the white you get by simply burning it in air.
Wow, that was neat, wasn't it? Man, everybody's starting to melt his glass beaker, too.
Aluminum melts at only slightly higher temperatures than magnesium, but for the sake of curiosity, I'm going to toss some foil in there anyway. Alright, here goes nothing.
Oh, it's pretty blue color.
Now that is like an arc furnace. Oh my goodness. Now it's time for something more challenging.
Oh.
Copper needs to be very hot before it melts. So let's see how it holds up in the microwave.
Here we go, here we go.
Oh yeah, it melted almost instantly. Now this also brings up an important point about the glass.
Oh, yeah, it shattered. That extreme temperature variance that quickly, that's why it didn't happen sooner. Now, unless it was happening and, they just got breaking, he just didn't show it. But man, the aluminum foil was pretty the first started, wasn't it? Started out real bright blue.
It's actually astonishing.
Alright, let me hydrate. Ah. Oh, I'm not even free out this time. Again? Okay. Water. Yummy.
How well these Pyrex beakers have held up to the plasma. The same cannot be said about this Pyrex bakeware. The difference is that the beakers are made from borosilicate glass, which has very low thermal expansion. Pyrex bakeware used to be made from this as well, but has since been changed to tempered float glass, and its internal stress patterns are easy to see in a polariscope. This change is unfortunate for home science, but it does make for less dangerous breaks in the kitchen, as it tends to explode into tiny bits as opposed to razor shards. Anyway, let's move up the temperature scale to some thermite.
Wow.
Thermite is so hard to...
Ooh, thermite. Think you make it explode? Or catch on fire? Man, that's hard. That stuff was hard to catch fire. I think it's pretty inert, pretty stable, until you have like something interact with it externally. That'd be interesting to see what happens.
to ignite, that you can buy it pre-mixed and have it shipped to you without crazy restrictions. I'm hoping this microwave can achieve its high ignition point. Yeet! Huh, so that's what it took to break one of those beakers. It basically just
Wow.
exploded in there. All the iron product is dispersed in little droplets. That was fun. Although that reaction made molten iron, it was kinda cheating due to all the chemical energy released. Let's try directly melting some iron in the form of steel wool.
Oh no.
Yep, no problem there.
Wow, that plate, he tried to pick it up, and he just split right in half. It's like, nope, I'm done. Oh, 4 plate. Oh, but we got titanium next. Here we
Next on the
go.
list is titanium. This stuff is quite hard to melt, but I think the microwave can pull it off. Alright, let's melt some titanium. Man, I'm gonna see these spots for a long time. That was so bright. Oh my goodness.
Oh, something's exploding. Yeah, I never played this game out. Gave me a jump scare too, didn't it? Ooh.
Alright, let's take a look at the damage here. Mostly the glitter in that plate, but the titanium. Oh yeah, that melted. I can see it beaded up there. Nice. I'm running out of metals with higher melting points. So this time I'm going to try making rubies.
All right, Renee, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you stopping by. You have a great day. Stay safe, all right?
Based on a cool video
Oh, he's gonna make rubies again. Okay, let's see him do
by
it.
Nighthawk and Light. Okay, so I ran into a lot of issues with this one, but it was mostly due to stupidity on my part. The gist of this procedure is that you use a microwave plasma to melt an alumina chromium mix, which yields ruby. However, for some reason, I thought Ben's procedure generated the alumina via an exotic thermite reaction between chromia and metallic aluminum. This false assumption led to a lot of broken glass and several failed shots. The funny part is that my chromia thermite still ignited with ease, which is probably even harder to pull off than making ruby. However, when I used alumina like I was supposed to, I still ran into issues.
Ah, he's blowing up the glass container using. I see, I see. Okay, okay.
The plasma escaped and the glass container exploded after just a couple seconds. Fortunately, this was still enough time to finally make some ruby.
I did it. Look at it. Love the specs. I think we might have seen this in the last video when he tried to make a bigger ruby. That was how you can make rubies like that. Hmm. What you guys think rubies go off my hair? Hmm.
Thank goodness. You know, the fact that this can be done in a normal oven means I really haven't hit an impressive temperature yet. So, let's cut the fluff and move to something extreme. It's time for the metal with the highest melting point, tungsten.
Tungsten.
The melting point of this is literally thousands of degrees above anything else I've tried so far, so this one might be challenging. Alright. For whatever reason, the plasma in this beaker kept
Cut enough far place, they just give up, don't they? I bet the plate reaction is the most funniest part of this so far.
escaping confinement, so I couldn't give it a long enough zap. The wire may have burned a bit in there, but there wasn't any clear indication of melting, so I decided to give it another go on ceramic fiber. Heck. Oops, waveguide flashover. It turns out, free
Whoa!
plasma
He almost nuked his old microwave there. Ooh, need to be careful, that might blow up on
in
him.
the oven is really bad, because it jumps back to the magnetron through the waveguide. I used these mica waveguide covers, which buy about a half a second of plasma escapes, but this one got all crispy without me realizing it. It won't take many flashovers like this to destroy the oven. And unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened either. Alright, here we go. Oh, heck.
Hey, I say
Alright, we got a new waveguide cover. Let's try this again.
Sorry about that, guys.
That
Baker
one
gave
clearly
out.
melted some of the tungsten, as you can see by the beading on the wire. How that is impressive. So this macrowave is capable of melting any metal. But the thing is, I'd bet that plasma in there is substantially hotter than even tungsten's melting point. Unfortunately, there's nothing tougher that I can melt, so I can only say it's at least 3,422 degrees C. Now, something that I found is that although tungsten is the toughest metal I can throw in there, it's far from the most interesting. So to get to the point, what happens if I microwave a lithium battery?
Oh, here we go. We might see something explode inside the microwave again. You guys ready to see lithium fire?
Well, embarrassingly, I couldn't get one to pop. The oven itself would
Uh,
flash over before anything happened to the battery. I tried cheating by using some steel wool to initiate a plasma, but even then, the plasma refused to stay contained. So, I decided on a different approach. I carefully opened one up and extracted the
yeah, be very, very careful. Don't ever do that at home, guys. That is dangerous stuff to mess around with.
lithium foil inside. Microwaving this foil gave a surprising result. That incredible red coloring is due to lithium's atomic emission spectrum. What I expected to see was maybe a few red flashes in an otherwise white plasma, simply because the temperatures are so high. The fact that the colorful spectral lines were favored opens up the possibility of all sorts of colorful plasmas.
Ice cream and Benchy, ho ho! Watching the 20,000-watt microwave melt stuff. That lithium was pretty, wasn't it? A nice, pretty red color to it. I'm doing great. How are you doing today? You staying cool on this hot day, I hope? But yeah, that nice red color coming out there was so pretty.
Now this brings up the question.
Yeah, I know how you feel, Banshee. Yeah, you stay cool, stay hydrated, alright? I don't want y'all getting heat stroke on me or something. Now make sure you drink plenty of water today, guys, okay?
What happens if I start chucking a bunch of weird chemicals and metals in there? Can I make a full rainbow of plasmas, at least to a Roy G. Biv approximation? Well, there's only one way to find out. For the next weird metal, let's try a
Sorry about my mouth freaking out like that. Whenever I drink water, a lot of times it wigs out for some reason today. Probably because it's so hot.
lump of calcium. This sample is surprisingly still
Ooh.
shiny, even though I've had it for years. I'm hoping it'll show off its orange spectral lines when yeeted into a plasma.
Bye, guys, bye!
Well, that was easy, and stupidly bright as well. On to the next one. For yellow, I'm gonna zap some sodium metal. For reasons I'll get into soon,
Oh, don't ever mix that with water. Same way with lithium, don't ever mix lithium with water either. Both those are hydroreactive. How you doing today, Spike? Hope you're staying cool on this nice hot day. Hope you got some AC, some ice water today. Woo!
zapping the angry and highly reactive metallic form is a totally unnecessary way to see the sodium spectral colors. However, for the sake of memes, I'm gonna do it anyway. I do need to address something first though. The last time I pulled out this lump of sodium, so many of you freaked out over the quantity. Now let me tell you a little something. This little chunk right here is nothing. In fact, when I was 13 years old, I obtained two 400-pound barrels of metallic sodium. Now that's a story for a different day, but be assured, this ain't much. Well, anyway, yeet. I want to
Oh,
point
that's
out
pretty.
that this exact yellow color has shown up in this video several times already, and in particular, all the times that glass is broken into plasma. This is because sodium in the glass is coloring the plasma. Now, Nile Red actually has an entire video on this very effect. It turns out,
Oh,
it
cool.
only takes a little bit of sodium to make a lot of yellow light. And this can be a blessing or a curse depending on what you're trying to do. With yellow down, let's move on to green. I'm mixing up some trimethylborate, which will hopefully show off boron spectral colors. Since this isn't conductive
Yeah, definitely don't mess with stuff at home, kids. Right. You don't want to mess with insect killer like that.
on its own, I'm using a sliver of aluminum wool to initiate it. It's funny because the free boron must have been thousands of times more concentrated than sodium in there. Yet it's the sodium yellow that stuck out at first. Eventually, the boron won out though, making a nice green color. Well, green was easy enough, so how hard can blue be? I figured copper would be the element to zap, but then I remembered that when I melted it, it didn't make much blue light. But that's the thing about copper. It has to be tickled in just the right way before it'll spit out blue light. And this is why blue is such a challenge in fireworks. So, I tried a pyrotechnics trick and added a source of chlorine in the form of copper chloride. This one sucked. I was hoping for blue emission from hot molecular copper chloride, but this
I don't know, there's nothing blue color in it. I think it's neat looking. Pretty beautiful, isn't it? Almost like he's got a aurora borealis right there in his own home.
really only made a little bit of blue. Maybe the plasma was too hot in there. I don't know, let's try something else. Microplastics. Maybe this will provide a better form of chlorine for the copper. There were a few good flashes of blue in there, but still not what I wanted. Maybe I just need to change metals.
Uh-oh. Got another battery. Please do not do that to your batteries at home.
I carefully opened up a lantern battery to extract the zinc metal casings. And what do you know? Sodium yellow. I even tried a strip of high purity zinc, and although this one briefly flashed blue, it was still the trace sodium contamination that stole the show. Yellow chemistry at its finest. Embarrassingly, the bluest plasma I've gotten so far was actually just the aluminum foil I zapped earlier. Out of desperation, I decided to try this again in a bigger beaker, with the hopes that the higher volume would lower plasma density and favor atomic emission.
That is the blue he was looking for. That's beautiful, ain't it?
Wow, all of those fancy chemicals and elements, only to be outperformed by a strip of aluminum foil. Chemistry is stupid. With blue finally down, it's time to take on indigo, and there's no better metal for indigo than indium. It's no coincidence they sound so similar, because indium was actually named after the color indigo. Why this is becomes very apparent when indium is zapped by my demon circuit, as it makes more indigo light than I've ever seen in my life.
Oh wow, look at
Can
that.
the same be done with a microwave? Let's plasma
Purple lightning. See that? That was cool. I like that.
Plasmify some indium wire and find out. Blue? Ugh! I tried so hard to get blue earlier, and now it shows up when I don't want it. Figures. Instead of indium wire, I melted some of the metal in the bottom of a beaker, hoping that it would provide more metal to the plasma. Nope, still blue. In hindsight, the ceramic fiber base was probably poisoning the color there, but I didn't consider that before trying the next experiment. I added some indium chloride, hoping either the chlorine or pre-ionized indium would change the color. This was a big improvement, and
There we go, now we got purple. Look at it. Yeah, he's living with a 20,000 watt microwave oven, so yeah, definitely not something to do at home. We done tell him he's like a mad scientist or something. Yeah, he's playing with your dangerous chemicals, dangerous powder levels. Definitely not something to do at home.
although the plasma was a bit obscured by the smoke, I would have probably stopped here if it wasn't for the next experiment. As a side note, I should mention that while indium metal is essentially non-toxic, indium smoke is really bad to breathe in, as is ceramic fiber dust. These are one of many reasons I'm wearing a respirator. Anyway, I decided to try microwaving some gallium crystals. Most people know gallium for its very low melting temperature, but it turns out it has a beautiful emission spectrum as well. Some crystals in the bottom of a beaker were enough to give some interesting colors, and flipping the beaker over really brought out the color. And what do you know? There's the last of the colors, violet. I didn't stop there though. I was curious what would happen if I made an alloy of gallium and indium, and then zapped that. Sure enough, a nice clear indigo started to come through. After playing with ratios and settling on an alloy that was mostly indium, I created my favorite plasma of this entire project.
Oh, look at that. I kinda wish you would turn the buzzing noise down a little bit. I mean, I know with that magnetron powering up and everything, but still. That is beautiful again.
Holy! Wow! Wow! That was perfect! That was beautiful! Yes! Yes!
Yes.
That was
Oh,
perfect! Oh,
is
so
it
beautiful!
so good?
Sorry.
Ah,
I've made every color I wanted to, and melted every element I wanted to. And I don't even want to stop here. However, this video is getting pretty long. There's still so much more I want to do with my huge magnetrons. I even made this cool Faraday helmet for some of my more cursed ideas. I should probably save those experiments for a separate video, just because I don't want to rush through them. Instead, let me try to address some questions that I just know you guys will ask about otherwise. What does it do to electronics? Well, most things I threw in there gave the same result. RAM sticks, plasma. Neon bulbs, plasma. PCBs, plasma. Christmas lights, some funny colors, but mostly plasma. The only electronic device that didn't ionize was this broken calculator, but the smoke it made was essentially a chemical war crime. I tried CDs as well, but their coatings vaporized in a fraction of a second.
oh, that was neat. I like that. Oh, come on. Really? Look at that. That neat looking. It took a fraction of a second to go through that entire coating. Oh.
So, what about the health risks of this contraption? Well, the real risk here isn't microwaves, it's the power supply. Now, put simply, you touch any of this stuff while it's live, you'll die instantly. But as for the tiny bit of microwaves that escape the oven, those are harmless for the same reason your Wi-Fi router is harmless. And that's because microwaves are non-ionizing radiation. Hold up. Microwaves are non-ionizing radiation? Didn't I just spend the entire video ionizing stuff with microwaves? Yes. So let me explain by briefly talking about radiation. Now, this word scares a lot of people because they associate it with scary forms that cause cancer, but not all radiation is this way. Microwaves are a type of electromagnetic radiation. This type of radiation includes scary stuff like X-rays, as well as just light. This does not include particle radiation, like you get from some kinds of radioactive decay. Now, this is where things get confusing. Ionizing radiation includes high-energy EM stuff, as well as particle radiation, and nuclear radiation falls here as well, but not all ionizing EM radiation is nuclear radiation, if that makes sense. Okay, all that considered, you may have heard that light has properties of both a particle and a wave, right? Well, this is where the distinction of ionizing comes in. Ionizing EM radiation is where one light particle, or photon, has enough energy to strip an electron off of an atom and ionize it.
Sorry.
Photons with this energy can mutate DNA, leading to cancer. A microwave photon is literally 1,000,000 times weaker than this threshold. Now, to be fair, a photon doesn't have to be quite at ionizing energy to be cancer-causing, as UV can still cause damaging photochemical reactions to DNA. But even this is 100,000 times more energetic than microwaves. Then how do microwaves ionize stuff? So bear with me. I've already mentioned that microwaves are electromagnetic, which means they have an associated electric and magnetic field. Now, it's the electric field that's relevant here, and an important property about these fields is that they add up. That means that when you put enough microwaves in a small enough space, the electric field grows to the point where it can rip apart atoms and molecules on its own. This effect is not exclusive to microwaves, and even visible light will ionize air if there's enough of it. Sticking your hand in the oven won't shoot a bunch of holes in your DNA and give you cancer. It will simply cook it like you dunked it in lava. Of course, burns only happen at huge powers. At low power, like what leaks through the oven door, those risks simply aren't there. Oh, and for the
There's something new today. Yeah, we'd be learn about how safe microwaves are and how unsafe they can be.
Record, I did measure the microwave leakage from this, and it's so small that it's well within the legal safety limits of what's allowed to be sold for home use. It's incredibly well sealed. Well, other than one mishap where the tape on the door exploded and EMP'd one of my cameras. But, we don't need to worry
I hindered the camera. Were you know, shooting star? Okay.
about that. So hopefully that convinced you that microwaves are safe in small amounts. Because on an unrelated note, I now have to give you an update on my health issues. Now before I end this video, I think I'm obligated to give you some updates on what I brought up in my last video. As a recap, I recently found out that I have just like bonkers testosterone levels, and this is concerning because I also have had these unexplained markers for liver disease going back more than 10 years. Well, since posting that video, I went through the medical ringer. I got poked and irradiated and fondled in about like every way you can imagine. And no actual disease was identified, although they still found a little bit of liver scarring on the liver biopsy. Now, even though I don't know what's wrong, this is still a pretty good result because it means that, well, it rules out a bunch of nasty diseases, but also means that whatever is wrong doesn't seem to be progressing very quickly. Now, if something changes, or if by some chance I actually solve this mystery, I'll be sure to let you guys know. Now, many of you brought up that I may have caused these issues due to all my experiments. And of course, I can't help but wonder that as well. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that somebody that does what I do has, weird and unexplained disease. But you know what? I know it wasn't microwaves that caused it, or anything high voltage like Tesla coils, because I've had these disease markers since before I ever messed with that kind of stuff. Now, chemicals, or I guess technically lasers for some reason, I mean, yeah, it's possible. I like to think I've been pretty careful to limit exposures, but then again, I've been doing that stuff my whole life, so.
Well, I hope he's all right. I really do. Or turned out all right. I'm glad they haven't found anything yet, and I hope they continue to find nothing wrong with him. I just hope he just has high markers and no actual disease. You know what I mean?
So it's possible that some, small exposures added up to something. But I wonder about the reverse possibility as well. I never had my testosterone levels measured before this year, but because I don't have any symptoms of like hormone changes, there's a good chance they've always been that way. And in assuming that is true, then I wonder how much of a role did that play in my extreme hobbies? I mean, basically every activity I enjoy is dangerous, and it's been that way since I was a preteen. And considering the associations of testosterone with risk-seeking behavior, I feel like, bonkers hormone levels to start with might explain some things. So yeah, whether I caused my crazy body chemistry or whether crazy body chemistry caused me, I feel like both are about as equally likely. So that's about all I have for you today. So until the next time, stay safe and happy microwaving.
Well, that was an awesome video. I built a 20,000-watt microwave oven by styropyro. That was a cool video to watch. Thank you guys for suggesting that to me.